So, hello. Today I'm honored to have a very special guest. The man that you are going to hear from is a man that I respect for a couple of years now. And I knew him since his programming days. I was watching your videos, John, to figure out if I want to start programming.
Okay.
And I had back then I had a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, that was also a programmer, very smart, tall like you, also kind of jacked, not exactly jacked like you, but he was trying to. And, I think he was the one that told me about you. And I watched your videos, and you were a very rare specimen to me, because it was the first time I was seeing a programmer so jacked. So yeah. I figured this guy has something to say about life. So I followed you, and from that point on, more or less, I was watching your path and your life. And I'm very proud that you are here accepting my invitation. It's an honor, and I thank you. So welcome, John.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
All right. So today we're not going to talk about the things that you are talking in your channel. So anybody who is interested in relationships, women, how to get girls, and how to be wealthy, how to become wealthy, rich, and all that stuff, John is one of the best I know personally in YouTube, because you tell things how you see them, and you are very polite, also very kind, very civilized. So that's also a rarity in our days, I believe. So we are not going, though, to talk about these things. I want today your opinion about three main things. First of all is your opinion about fasting. Second is your opinion about nutrition in general. And third, about nature, forest bathing, swimming in the ocean, in the river, bare feet, all that stuff. So let's begin from the fasting thing. So what's your opinion, John, about fasting? What's your experience? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of fasting. My fasting protocol is 1 meal a day. So I do OMAD. I've been doing that for really about 7 years now. I had some breaks in between where I took some time off when I was running an ultra marathon. I was trained for that. I took some time just because I was burning like 9,000 calories a day. So it was pretty hard to maintain my size and weight, at 230 pounds or so. But yeah, I've been pretty much doing that for 7 years. And what I found with it is that I feel like there's quite a few different benefits of it. But one of the big ones from a fitness standpoint is that I found when I started doing that on the balance, I would maintain more lean mass, even though I was in a deficit than I would if I was just doing traditional dieting and just reducing my calories down, right? So I found that by doing the fasting, even when I was running 40, 50, 60 miles a week, I was still able to maintain my size and keep that muscle when I did the fasting. But when I just did calorie restriction, then I would lose a lot of muscle. So I found that was really muscle preserving. And then I found also that to me, I have noticed that my health in general is better. I feel like it reverses or like stalls the aging process, right? I'm almost 42. Most people think that I'm much younger than that. And I feel like a lot of that is because of the fasting has sort of slowed down the aging process for me. And then I also find just the psychological benefit of it, right? I feel like you get kind of two things from it. One, the mental discipline, right, of doing the fasting. It makes you tougher, it makes you stronger. It makes it so that other things in life don't phase you as much because you're used to dealing with something that is much more difficult that you deal with on a daily basis. And then also, in some way, it's easier I'm a big proponent of creating rules for yourself, not making judgment calls, right? And so where people get tripped up on their diets and their nutrition plans is that they have to make all these judgment calls. What do I eat for breakfast? What do I eat for lunch? Should I eat this cake? When you just have a hard and fast rule that you don't eat until 5 p.m. or till dinner time, it makes things a lot simpler and you can just go on with your life. You're less likely to make bad decisions. So.
Right. Honestly, yeah, I have a similar experience. I'm not that disciplined as you are. At least I'm not right now. I've lost my touch a little bit with fasting. So I'm trying. Basically, my question to you was selfish because I try to get back,
Yeah.
and I was always a big proponent of fasting since I was like a teenager because, John, my story is that I had the same regimen of 1 meal per day when I was a teenager and I was fat. So I didn't know back then. It was like 2003, 2004 or something. So, and I was figuring out how to do it, how to lose weight, and nobody, the YouTube was, I think it wasn't even there. So, and I had no information, no coach, no nothing. So I figured, I'm going to school, from the morning since, late noon. So, I figured just don't eat anything at school.
Yeah.
And then, go to your after school activities that we Hellenes have. Usually it revolves around studying again, as if not school is enough. But anyways, that's another topic for another time. Uh, but and so I forced myself. I conditioned myself not to eat because I just didn't focus on it, and it worked, man. It worked. So in a couple of months, 3 months, I lost 15 kilos, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, wow. And since then, it stuck to me. I didn't do it religiously for the next 15 years, but I brought it back to my consciousness, for the past now 6 to 5 years. And I tried also 3-day fast and 5-day fast. So you said though something, and before we go to, you said 1 meal a day, right? So you said that you do 1 meal a day. All right. So before we go to the longer fasts, how would you structure a meal, the 1 meal a day for a novice guy or gal that is starting out and wants to lose weight and be better?
Yeah.
How would you set the first, stones for him to navigate this very interesting but hard path?
There's a couple things. So for most of my coaching clients, when I work with them, what I tell them is a couple things. So first of all, just the basic protocol is just, you're going to do 1 meal a day, right? You're going to fast until dinner time, right? 5 o'clock, let's say, every day. The first 2 weeks will be difficult because your body has to adjust, because you have ghrelin and leptin hormones that sort of regulate your appetite, and you have to adjust to that because the timing of those is usually 3 times a day. You're going to be hungry at certain times, but you kind of have to get used to it. And the thing about losing weight is that you will be hungry, but hunger is not that bad. It's just a pain that you have. It goes away after time. That's I think one thing that you learn with fasting is that hunger is not like, you might feel really hungry, but then if you go and distract yourself and go do something, an hour later, you won't feel hungry anymore. It'll come back again, of course, but that hunger pain, it doesn't just stay until you eat. So I warn them about that, but then I basically just have them, just go for it. Just go for it, 1 meal a day. And then when you eat, you're just going to focus. You can eat whatever you want, but just focus on trying to eat something that is high protein and high fiber, right? And the reason for that is because it's twofold, because eating the high protein is going to be more muscle preserving, of course, but it's also going to steer your direction of food choices in the right direction. Because if you're focusing on eating high protein and you're focusing on eating high fiber, which is going to be more filling as well, then it's not going to be things like cake. It's going to be, you're going to have to eat something that has some kind of protein, some kind of meat in there, or some kind of nutrition in there that's going to be generally more filling, so that you're not going to eat. Because even eating 1 meal a day, you know this as well, if you just eat junk, you could eat more calories in 1 meal than what you burn. It's certainly possible if you go to certain restaurants and places and eat junk food. So that's what I have them do, and then I have them walk for half an hour to an hour a day, just doing the walking. Just you don't need to do much more than that. But if you're willing to do that, if you just start with that, you will lose weight. Like, you're guaranteed lose weight, and it's simple. It's so easy. It's not difficult. You don't have to think about what kind of foods do I need to eat, what kind of diet, what kind of meal plan, how many calories am I eating, none of those things. It's a very simple that, and that's why, maybe it's not the most effective possible thing that you could possibly do, but it is so simple and so effective that people can actually stick to it and follow it, and they will get results.
It's amazing, man. You have a way to simplify things. It's ridiculous. But it's true. I mean, coming from you, many people may say, you are a freak of nature in a good way. You are special in a way, but for those people that think that you just was born that way, muscular and disciplined and all that stuff, you've shown in your own channel, and I really, really invite people to go to your channel and see how you were like 10 years ago, 15 years ago or more. And it's funny how much you change. Yes, I believe personally that you have the genetic potential, John, relative to other people, but my experience is that genetic potential doesn't cut it, So it's great to hear that from you. And having said that, all that about nutrition, let me ask you, before we go to the longer fasts, you said something about feeling fulfilled with fiber and protein and fiber, right?
Right.
All right. So what is your opinion, John, about the carnivore diet and about the high fat diet?
Yeah. So I've experimented with both of them. I think there's some big benefits to them, right? I think you could do a carnivore diet. Well, here's the thing. If you did a carnivore diet, right, for the long term, you need to be eating organ meats, right? So either organ meats or some kind of caviar or something so you're going to get more of a nutrient profile. Because if you just eat, ribeye steaks, you're going to be missing a lot of nutrients, right? And if you add eggs to it, then you get a lot more of the nutrient profile. But if you certainly eat, liver and organ meats, then you can get all of the nutrition that you need from just animal-based sources. I think there's plenty of studies in science that shows us. I think most people that do carnivore diet, they just eat steaks. And when I did carnivore diet, I just ate ribeyes. That's what I did, because I don't want to eat organ meats. It's not I ate some eggs and stuff, I tried to get caviar, but I think you could do it periodically for a time. Like if you did that, you wouldn't be nutrient deficient, for let's say like a 2 or 3 month period. Then, or you could even just do something where you're eating, mostly carnivore, right? Where you're throwing in some vegetables, some other foods in there. I think that works. But, the high fat part of it, like getting into ketosis and the ketogenic diets, I don't see a huge benefit for those aside from the appetite suppression of it, right? When I look at it, really, what it comes down to is that there's a couple of things that I found that's important for nutrition. So, the biggest thing is that you're in some kind of a calorie deficit, right? You're going to lose weight if you're in a deficit. So if, just eating meat, sometimes having a lack of variety is going to make it so that you eat less, right? What really kills us is variety, right? So the more stuff that we have, in fact, when we look at the most unhealthy foods that we consume in large quantities, it's because they've been engineered in that way, right? A donut, it has sugar and fat. It has, all these things that make it a lot more appealing to us than basic food. If you just had rice to eat, you're not going to overeat on rice. You're not going to, But if you have a bunch of donuts, you're going to overeat on donuts and cake. So I think there's that element to it. I do think that being in a ketogenic diet, that you have a more steady energy levels, so your hunger is a little bit less. So I think there's a benefit there, but I don't think there's no magic. Just like I tell people all the time, there's no magic with fasting. There's no magic with ketogenic diets. The main loss of weight is going to come from the calorie deficit. That's what it is. Now, if those things make it easier for you then sure, there's other benefits, like I said, with the fasting, with the aging, I feel like, and the health benefits of doing that, but I haven't really seen, that much of a difference as far as weight loss or being lean, and I've done, I've done 0 carbohydrate diets. I did that way back, and sure, I lost weight. You're going to lose a lot of water weight is what's going to happen at first, because you're going to lose the glycogen from your muscles. And a lot of people confuse that with actual weight loss, but it doesn't really accelerate the fat loss. It still comes down to the deficit. The only other piece of it, I think, is that maybe the nutrient partitioning, whereas when you eat certain foods, you are more likely to determine how the weight loss is, right? So you could lose weight, but it doesn't necessarily mean you lose fat, right? So the goal is to lose fat, not to lose muscle, right? And so when you think about it, it does matter in terms of, if you eat foods that are high in sugar and fat at the same time, you're creating an insulin response, and you're allowing your body to store that fat into the cells. So even if you're in a deficit, what can happen is that you can be in a deficit where you lose weight, you lose muscle, but you gain fat because of your eating habits. So doing something like a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet, high fat diet, those tend to be better as far as nutrient partitioning, because you're not mixing carbohydrates with fats. You're not mixing simple sugars with fats. And that's really the killer, right? Of all the research, of everything that I've ever found from nutrition, because I've read books on vegan diets, plant-based nutrition, and carnivore diets and fasting and all those things, the number one thing that is in common that everyone agrees on, and that I agree is the number one killer and harmful thing, is sugar. Sugar is the thing that is bad for you, period. Everything from heart disease to gaining weight to diabetes, insulin resistance, all of those things. So really, like, if there's one thing that you could cut out, is the sugar.
All right. Basically, it's the same thing I found myself from all the studies and the books I found. I mean, yeah, even going back to Weston A. Price and the older guys, even if you go back, I remember a book, John, I don't know if you have read it. I think it was from Pollack or from the other guy, talking about the late 1700s. Where there was a fat dude. I think it was called something from B. His surname was starting from B, and he was fat, and he went to a doctor or something, nutritionist. I don't remember what it was, and he was consulted to eat basically ketogenic diet, and mostly cut the sugars, so even alcohol sugars. So because many people, when she saw sugar, they think that's just the added sugar, the white thing, just that. Sugar can take many forms. There are other simple sugars that some people just don't understand, that they also contribute to all that stuff. So are you against alcohol, I guess?
I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I'll drink a scotch every once in a while, but I don't believe in the regular consumption of alcohol. I think that it's, the harm outweighs the benefit by a large degree. But yeah, in general, I mean, I would suggest that people abstain from it as much as possible, because there's not really any benefit to it, and it does cause a lot of hormonal damage for sure. So.
All right, so I agree to that. I also don't drink alcohol for a decade now. Last time I drank, it was like 21 or something, and it didn't, it wasn't a great experience. I was drunk for my first and my last time, and I was raped. I was raped, John, by by a lady. So in any case, let's go to the fasting, man. To the real fasting. Let's go to the 5 days fasting and 3-day fasting and more. Yeah. What's your opinion? What's your experience?
Yeah. So I like, 3-day fasts. I think that maybe even up to a 5-day fast, but I feel like even past 3, it's questionable if it's worth the benefits, right? So like doing 1 meal a day, you're going to get certain benefits that you won't be able to get unless you go for a longer fast, right? It takes for some of the hormonal changes and some of the effects, it takes over 48 hours for, for example, HGH levels to peak, and for you get the maximum benefit of the autophagy, that the cell death, the programmed cell death, where your cells regenerate, is usually around the 48 hour, like 36 to 48 hour mark. So it makes a lot of sense to me for 3-day fasts. Also for weight loss, 3-day fasts make a lot of sense. When you start to go past the 3 days, you start to have issues where you see more of a drop off in muscle loss, and energy levels, where you can't maintain the lifting and maintain the muscle. And then you also start to see issues where refeeding becomes an issue, right? If you do a 3-day fast and you break that 3-day fast, you can kind of eat whatever you want. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you eat something like nuts as your first thing, you're probably going to be in the bathroom. I mean, there's certain foods that are going to mess you up after 3 days of having no food. But when you start to get into the bigger numbers in the 4, 5, 6 days, if you don't break the fast correctly, you're going to be messed up. It's going to cause you, it could even kill you if you don't break the fast correctly, from refeeding syndrome is what they call it. So yeah, so I like the idea of having a protocol of doing like 1 meal a day, so you're fasting, doing a full 24-hour fast or 48-hour fast, and then maybe once a month or so doing like a couple of day fast. That's kind of where, and with my coaching clients too, when they want to do longer fasts, I always ask them, well, why? Like, what are your goal? What are you trying to do? If you want to do like a 5-day fast for the mental, aspect of it, every once in a while, sure, I think that makes sense. But if someone is wanting to lose weight, probably, doing 1 meal a day is going to give you 90% of the results. And then if you want to throw in a couple of extra, couple day fasts in there to boost your results, sure, I think that makes sense. But I think sometimes people take it too far with the fasting. And, and a good example of this is one of my friends, Connor Murphy. He did a 30-day fast, and he live streamed his fast. And, you would think after 30 days, and he was already fairly lean, you think he would be just ripped right after 30 days. And he lost something like 20, maybe 25 pounds in that 30-day period of time. But he literally just shrunk in size. Like, he lost fat and muscle about the same ratio. And so he looked a little bit more lean, but not a lot more lean. And so, I always use that as an example, because it's not just, fasting is not going to make you lean, right? If you really want to lean, you need to lose fat, and you need to do that by doing it the right way. And if you fast for a very long period of time, you're going to catabolize muscle. It's just going to happen, right? In a short period of time, I think it's muscle preserving, but in a long period of time, it does catabolize muscle. So
yeah, makes sense. I've seen the same thing. I've done 4-day and 5-day fasts, and I think also that around the 3 to 4 days, from my experience and research, I kind of see that, yeah, like you said, once a month maybe to do that as a detox. Some people, like, I used to read, back in the day, 8 years ago, David Perlmutter was doing like once every quarter, doing like 5 days, 7 days. There is another coach that I spoke to, that Carnivore coach, that is doing every month, 7 days. Well, this is a little bit extreme for me, but yeah, it's, I don't know, John. It's fasting is really like everything. I don't know if you've seen the same trend in anything that goes up in popularity. People go to extremes very fast in our day. It's like, wow, that's the miraculous thing of the day. Whoa. So let's go to the extreme. And I myself, I'm also extreme, and I'm guessing that you are a little bit too. But, from my personal experiments, extreme is not always very wise. So yeah, I don't know what you have. What's your opinion about the extremity of our days, about fasting and nutrition?
I mean, I think that it's good sometimes to take things to the extreme, but you can't always take them to the extreme, right? So it's good to push yourself to come through mental barriers. Like you have to know why you're doing things, right? I think that's what's important. And so that's why I always ask my coaching clients, I'm like, well, why are you doing this? Because one of the guys is doing a dry fast. And I'm like, okay, well, what is the purpose of doing this dry fast? And it's like, well, okay, it accelerates the fat loss. I want to do this for 2 days. Okay, if you know what your purpose is, that makes sense. It does accelerate the fat loss, fine. Okay, but when someone says, oh, I want to do a dry fast for a week, then I say, well, you're going to die because you cannot go without food or water for a week. You will die. There's no point in doing that. Like there's no purpose, right? So it's like, you don't just do extreme things. Now you might do like a longer fast for mental discipline purposes. That's fine. For clarity, for whatever. Okay, spiritual practice, fine, all those things, but you got to know why you're doing things. And so if you're pushing something to the extreme, just because if you think some is good, more is better, that's not, or I think sometimes a lot of people take things to extreme because they want shortcuts, and that's not, see, the whole plan and the whole purpose of like maintaining a fasting lifestyle and incorporating fasting into your life is that you're building discipline into your life. And we're trying to take shortcuts and you're like, okay, well, if I just don't eat for 10 days, then I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. It's no good, because you're not building the discipline that's necessary to make this a lifestyle, to have a healthy life. And that's what I find when a lot of people are doing extreme things, and it's not good to do it for that reason. So
never thought about it that way, but yeah, probably that's why I invited you and you did invite me. You found a few things more than I. So thanks for that, John, and I'll keep it in mind. So let's change our page and go to the last thing of the day. So nature.
Okay.
I've seen many of your videos, but honestly, I've seen sometimes you being on the beach. I don't remember if you were barefoot or bare feet. And I remember you going to Europe and going to the Alps. I don't remember, it was the Alps probably or something. You had a video. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, what's your relationship with nature? Do you go to hiking trips? Do you like it? Do you go bare feet on the sand? Do you have any regimen about it?
Yeah, I don't really have a really good regimen about it. I mean, it's something that I need to explore more, honestly. I think, because I always go back and I think about how when I'm in nature that I feel more at peace, that it's very calming, soothing, that my mind works better, that everything seems to flow better for me. So I tried, like, well, last night I went for a hike, here in San Diego, which was nice. But yeah, I'm trying to like focus more on getting out. When I was doing one thing I really enjoyed, that was amazing, and I think a lot of people do it just for the nature aspect of it, is doing the ultra running, like trail running. Trail running is amazing, especially going out into the mountains, running up the mountains, running out into the woods. You're by yourself, miles into the woods. You see so many things. You're out there, and that is an addicting experience. That's something that I stopped doing, but I'd like to do more of, because that's when I think about the run, it's different than just running, training for a marathon. You're out there on the trails. It's a totally different experience. And I think it does connect you with, from a spiritual standpoint. I feel like those are some of the times where I made the most growth, the most personal growth spiritually, is being out there in nature.
What do you think about barefoot air thing? Do you think it's a hoax? Do you think it has any relevance?
I don't know where I stand on that. I think that I think it's probably legitimate. I don't think that it makes sense with grounding, right? Grounding yourself. There's a lot of things to that where I think that we don't necessarily understand that, like, you can try to explain everything away from a scientific standpoint and say, well, the electrical, you're grounded to the earth, to the electrical current of the earth, and but I don't know. Like, there's so many things that it doesn't even matter. Is there something that we don't understand? That we don't have to have things that are explained by science necessarily. So I think there is, benefit. Like, I mean, also just from a psychological perspective, the closer you are to nature, I feel like the more healthy you are. And even when you look at the nutrition side of things, right? Animals in nature they're not overweight. They don't have the health problems that we have. Why? Because they're out in nature, because they're eating natural foods, right? We talked about sugar. Sugar is so hard to come by in nature. It's very, very difficult to find, right? We have refined and processed sugars, but I mean, if you were out in nature and you tried to get a large amount of sugar, it would be very, very difficult for you to do that. You couldn't do that. Your only sources would really be fruits and berries. And, if you happen to come across like sugarcane or something like that, but it would still be very hard to extract it from there and to get a large amount of it. So, yeah. So I think that, as you live closer to nature, you are going to be closer to the more healthy state that you could be in, for sure.
Yeah, that's my experience too, man. So just to add a little bit of my experience before we close, for the past almost couple of years, I changed completely my paradigm of fitness and how I see fitness and how I practice fitness. And I was inside. I have my own power rack, so I have my own weights. So I was wise enough to invest 3 years ago into a power rack. So before all that shit came to us, but I felt very, inside my apartment, I felt very, very heavy. So right. That's the word, the proper word. My heart felt heavy. I had to put metal to get myself primed up, and it was feeling very unnatural. And I got to some point like something has to change. So, and at that point, by accident, I met a guy that was doing a seminar about kettlebells, strong first method. So I said, fuck it, why not? I went in there, I learned the method for a day. I came back, bought the kettlebells, and started doing kettlebell training. And of course, with kettlebell training, you can go outside. So I said, well, why not? I have a park nearby, 5 minutes. I go 5 minutes from home. I went to the park, and I started training. And then I figured out, well, that's nice. I have the sun. I have even when it's raining, it's beautiful. It's you are around trees. And then I figured, why not, getting my shoes off and doing barefoot. And then I discovered the real true thing of fitness. I mean, it was incredible. The way you have your feet on your grass and the stability that offers to the whole of the body. It was amazing. And I mean, yes, lately I have some health issues. I don't think they are related with that fitness program. So I stopped for the past 3-4 months. I have some other things that I'm struggling, but the past 2 years doing my fitness training with kettlebells and different weird stuff around in nature, barefoot, it was game changing. My fitness progress skyrocketed, man. And I just lost most of my gains over the past 4 to 5 months because of another health issue that I'm battling. And I still don't know what it is exactly, but it was really amazing for me, and it was a revelation. That's why I'm sharing it. Maybe it can help some people. So, yes, that's my opinion. So, I don't know. Do you have anything to add before we close?
No, I think that, I think we covered a lot of stuff. So,
all right. All right, man. So I know that this is a stupid question, but where can people find you?
Best thing is go to bulldogmindset.com. There will be a little pop-up that asks you if you want to take the Bulldog quiz. It's 10 questions. We'll tell you your Bulldog score and a bunch of different things that tell you if you have mental toughness. But just go to bulldogmindset.com and take the quiz.
Awesome, man. So please, if you can, stay for a minute. For anybody else, thanks for watching. I hope you liked our conversation with John, and for me, it was enlightening. And comment below if you have anything to add to the chat that we had with John, because at the end of the day, without conversations, dialogue, community, support, all that stuff, nothing goes on. nothing moves. So we are just two people talking. John is much more advanced than I am. I'm just a humble interviewer, but you guys can contribute to this. So please comment anything you think it's valuable. Having said that, goodbye everybody. And John, see you in a minute. So bye-bye.